Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about signs in the heavens. I'm going to start, I think, a playlist to try and just do a study into signs that specifically happen in space. And with this one, we're going to be talking about something that happened in 1994 that I think a lot of us have forgotten about. It was Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. Okay, so if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you end up liking it. Make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and then also make sure to share this. This might remind people that we've been having signs in the heavens, and I really think that this was one of them, especially after doing this particular study today. There are details about this that I didn't know until just now, and I think that they're significant. Okay, so first, let's go over what actually happened, and then let's look into, after that, what it might mean, or the things that seem to be connected with this event. Okay, so here is an actual picture. It's a composite picture, and here you see like the string of, or the line of broken pieces of the comet. You have the bright center, which is the solid mass, and then you have like the gases and stuff coming off of it in this kind of gray area, if you can see that. Okay, so this was discovered in 1993. It had already been torn. Here, I'll zoom in. Okay. It had already been torn into more than 20 pieces traveling around Jupiter in a 2-year orbit. Further observations revealed the comet, believed to be a single body at the time, had made a close approach to Jupiter on July 1992 and had been torn apart by tidal forces resulting from the planet's powerful gravity. Now, before this point, okay, this was actually not orbiting Jupiter. It was orbiting the sun. So around this time, it stopped orbiting the sun and it got caught within Jupiter's gravity. And that's what caused it to break up into pieces. The comet was thought to have been orbiting Jupiter for about a decade before its demise. The disruption of a comet into multiple fragments was rare. Okay, so we're already talking about something that's rare. And observing a captured comet in orbit about Jupiter was even more unusual, so rare and even more rare. But the biggest and rarest revelation was that the fragments were going to smash into Jupiter. So this is kind of like an ultra rare event, from what I get from this article. This is a NASA website. NASA had spacecraft in position to watch, for the first time in history, a collision between two bodies in the solar system. Like I said, there's some details that are coming up that I think you're going to enjoy. Okay, so this happened on July 16th, 1994, and ended on July 22nd, 1994. So this led me to wonder, was there anything going on at this time that might be significant? And this is what I found. Okay, first, we got to talk about, let's see, where is it? President Howard W. Hunter. He became president of the church on June 5th, 1994. So 1 month before this celestial event. He becomes prophet. A month later, we have this really rare event where a comet is crashing into Jupiter. It's different pieces. And by the way, I think there's some pictures that we'll look at in just a minute here. You can see from photos that were taken of Jupiter, the impacts, because it caused large explosions and dust, essentially, to be within Jupiter's atmosphere. So it scarred Jupiter for a while. So, okay, so I don't know. President Hunter becomes prophet. A month later, we have this happen. Now, if you're new to the church or you're not familiar, let me go to my tracker. that I have here where I'm keeping track of all the phrases they have to do with the second coming. Just to show you kind of the timeline here. Howard W. Hunter was only president for about a year. Just in 1994, essentially, for the most part. I actually don't know exactly when he died, but suffice to say, it was only about a year. Now, I don't know, or I can't see that there's necessarily any correlation between this event and an uptick in Second Coming talk. Maybe a little bit the next year, in 1995. Over here, we've got a 3 under hasten, and then over here there's a 3 under restoration of all things. So the connection's kind of weak. I'm not sure. I wouldn't put too much stock into that, but anyway, it's just kind of, it's interesting that something happened during this very short presidency of Howard W. Hunter. Let's see, was there anything else? Okay, no, just that. Okay, now let's go back to the article. No, actually, okay, so we're looking at July 16th, 1994. I pulled up the Jewish calendar, okay? So it turns out, now this is, it's already kind of surprising that it happened so close to Howard W. Hunter becoming president of the church. I feel like that's significant enough. But on top of that, this happened on the eve of Tisha B'Av. What's Tisha B'Av? Well, it's the saddest day in Judaism. They, I don't want to say celebrate, they commemorate it every year on the 9th of Av. Now, this event started on Saturday the 16th. So it was a Sabbath, by the way. That's kind of interesting. And then it went until Friday the next week. Now, remember, if you're looking at it from our point of view, Tisha B'Av essentially starts on the 16th because the Jewish day, excuse me, starts at sundown. It ends and it starts at sundown. So they start the Tisha B'Av commemoration on this day when this event starts happening. Now, what's Tisha B'Av? Some of you may know, some may not. But this is kind of a important day in Judaism. Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av, so that's why it's called Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, which month coincides with July and or August, is the major day of communal mourning in the Jewish calendar. Why are they mourning? Although a large number of disasters are said to have befallen the Jews on this day, the major commemoration is of the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem in 586 BCE and 70 CE, respectively. Central to the observance of this day is fasting. Okay, so the day that this is happening, these comet fragments are smashing into Jupiter, which, you know, Jupiter is viewed as a really important planet, like in mythology. You could also view it as kind of like the king planet. It's the largest planet in the solar system. Some associate Jupiter with Christ, right, because he's the king. So, it's weird. It's weird. On Tisha B'Av, the day that they commemorate the temples being destroyed, you have this destructive event that's happening to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter since that time is fine, but like I said, very unusual thing, destructive, and it left a scar on Jupiter. In fact, let's go down and look at it, because I think no? I thought I had pictures of it. You know what, I'm going to find it. Jupiter Shoemaker-Levy impact. Let's just go here. See, look at this. This is from Scientific American. No, even better. Let's go over here to Wikipedia. You can where to go? Well, here's one right here. Jupiter in ultraviolet, and down here you can see the impact sites of the comet. Let's see, here's an actual color picture, and you can see there's actual like discoloration right here, just big, huge spots, just blotches where the comet impacted. So it was an impressive sight. It was an impressive sight, as would have been the destruction of the temples. You know, I'm just saying. Okay, let's go back here. Although the exact date of the destruction of each of the temples, the ancient centers of Jewish life and practice, are unknown, tradition dates the events to Tisha B'Av. Indeed, the rabbis of the Talmudic age made the claim that God ordained this day as a day of disaster, excuse me, as punishment for the lack of faith evidenced by the Israelites during their desert wanderings after the exodus of Egypt. Okay, let's read a little bit more about Tisha B'Av. Now we're on Chabad.org. This is a very authoritative website and organization when it comes to jewelry. So here you have a depiction of the temple being destroyed, right? Here are some other events. 1313 BC, the spies returned from the Promised Land with frightening reports. Holy temples in Jerusalem were destroyed. The Bar Kokhba revolt against the Romans in 133 AD ended in defeat. And there's more. The expulsion of England's Jews, and then the banishment of all Jews from Spain back during the Inquisition. Okay, so during this time, these are the restrictions during this observance. Okay, during this time, we do not eat or drink, wear leather footwear, bathe or wash ourselves, washing only until the knuckle when mandated by halakha, apply ointments or creams, engage in marital relations or any form of intimacy, sit on a normal height chair, send gifts or even greet one another, excuse me, engage in outings, trips, or similar pleasurable activities, wear fine or festive clothing. Okay, it's a day of mourning. Let's see. Okay, now I'll put these links in the description below if you want to research it more. I just wanted to go a little bit more over other things that historically or by tradition have happened on this day. So here's the spies return with a bad report. Both holy temples were destroyed. Battle of Betar was lost. I don't know if this is the same one. Oh, okay, 133 AD. The Romans plowed the Beit HaMikdash. 1 year after their conquest of Betar, the Romans plowed over the Temple Mount, our nation's holiest site. The Jews were expelled from England in 1290. Jews were banished from Spain in 1492. Both world wars began. Let's see. Ready for just one more? World War II and the Holocaust, historians conclude, was actually the long drawn-out conclusion of World War I that began in 1914. And yes, amazingly enough, Germany declared war on Russia, effectively catapulting the First World War into motion on the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av. Okay, so they view this day of the Hebrew year as a very, very sad time and a day of mourning. Okay, so it's interesting. Okay, it's interesting. So just keep that in mind. There's some more. Still talking about the comet. If a similar sized object were to hit Earth, it would be devastating. The impact might send dust and debris into the sky, creating a haze that would cool the atmosphere and absorb sunlight, enveloping the entire planet in darkness. If the haze lasted long enough, plant life would die, along with the people and animals that depend on it to survive. Today, impacts of this size probably occur only every few centuries. Okay, so we already talked about how this is already rare for many different reasons. And this is part of it, that this only occurs every few centuries. Okay, so that's why I think that we need to pay attention to it. It does seem like it was a sign of the times and a sign in heaven. We witnessed it, right? It happened on a Jewish holiday. It happened right after one of our prophets became prophet, the month after he became prophet. So what else is going on with this? Well, there's just, I think, one more thing. So I was struck by the name David H. Levy, right? Because we know that if you're someone that has the last name of Levi, Levy, or a name that sounds similar to that, you're probably a Levite if you're Jewish. So I was wondering, okay, is he Jewish? He has David as a first name. He has Levy as a last name. Well, it turns out, yeah. It turns out, I can't find anything that explicitly says that he's Jewish, but he comes up in all these different Jewish websites and articles. So here you have the Arizona Jewish Post, and he pops up. You have this website, JewAge, and it has him, and it talks about what he did and stuff like that. The New York Jewish Week, and again, this talks about him. So I think it's safe to say he's probably Jewish, which is interesting. It was him and Shoemaker that found this comet. Now, you may have already seen when I was on this page, guess what the H stands for? The H stands for Howard. Howard. Just like Howard W. Hunter. Now, I mean, I don't know. Some might just say that it's a coincidence, and it could be, but at the very least, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Don't you think that's kind of weird? That the guy that discovered this sign in the heavens, his middle name is Howard, at the same time that the prophet, the new prophet, his name is Howard. I don't know. It's odd. Okay. On February 28th, 2010, Levy was awarded a PhD from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And then, this is kind of weird. This is just another little coincidence, but starting in 2015, Levy has been donating his observing logs, which he has kept continuously since 1956, his personal journals since 1958, and his comet search records since 1965, to the Linda Hall Library of Science Library in Kansas City, or in other words, the future site of New Jerusalem. I don't know. They're just little things. I'm not going to put too much into it, right? But it's odd. Don't you think it's odd? I think it's odd. And that's it. That's all that I have for this one. Oh no, there's one more thing. Duh. There's one more thing. So 1994, we have, yeah, 1994. So 30 years later, 30 years after this event, not to the day, but 30 years later, we have this significant eclipse that's going to occur, that's going to go over the United States, which we know seems to be related to the other eclipse that came the opposite direction, that makes an X over America. And there's been a lot of talk about how, having an X drawn over your country by an eclipse, by two eclipses, probably isn't a good thing. Especially when the first one goes over a bunch of different cities named Salem, which means peace. And again, the interesting thing is that they go over major church sites. The first one goes over New Jerusalem, Independence. That's where the path to totality took it. This one's going over Palmyra, New York, and the Sacred Grove, and the Kirtland Temple, places where Christ has appeared. So, again, this is kind of like a dark, kind of like warning type thing that's going on here. And I think that's probably what was going on with Jupiter. This seems kind of like a warning, right? This rare event that's happening on Tisha B'Av, a date known for being the destruction and being a bad day for Jews, for Judaism. Yeah, it's kind of like a warning. So we have this in 1994. 30 years later, we have this eclipse that's coming up. And this eclipse, I pointed it out before on the channel, but it's happening one day after conference. So conference will be on the 6th and on the 7th, which is interesting because, you know, the 6th for our church, that's a special date. So it's happening on the 6th and the 7th, and then the next day on the 8th, we're going to have this eclipse. And then two weeks after that, two weeks after the eclipse, we're going to have the start of Passover. This would be the day right here when Erev Pesach. So it's not the first full day of Pesach or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but this is the day that the lamb would be slaughtered. And then that evening, which would be the beginning of Pesach because of sundown, that's when they would have the Passover meal. So lamb and then Passover meal. 2 weeks earlier, we have that eclipse that's going to occur. So, yeah, that's a lot to think about, I think. I don't know that the two things are related as far as God is concerned, but 30 is a nice round number, so I don't know, maybe. But all this other stuff, Howard W. Hunter, David H. Levy, Tisha B'Av, Jupiter itself, this rare event, it's a lot to think about. It's definitely, I think, a sign in the heavens to pay attention to. And I've put it on my tracker. I made a new worksheet where I'm going to keep track of dates that certain signs happen in the heavens. So I'm going to try and find as many as I can and just put them all on here and see if I can, I don't know, maybe see any patterns or see anything that happens here in conference when these things occur. Maybe we'll find something, maybe we won't. But okay, so I'm gonna end it on that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Also, make sure to like this video if you liked it. And then also make sure to share this because, again, there's some people that probably aren't even aware that this happened in the first place. And then, you know, this might be a good reminder to people that forgot about this. And I'll talk to you guys later.